Hello, everyone. My name is LJ Young, and I am the founder of the SMD channel, this Sixth Sense channel, and what I call the SMD perspective. Okay, it's kind of like a combination of the Sixth Sense and SMD all tied together because it's really all a perspective, as I'm going to tell you about now. Now, when you probably read the title of this video, you probably think, well, here's another person claiming to be awake and probably sounding just like me, like I would be, right? But my perspective of awakening means becoming one with God, knowing God is everything, always has been, never has not been, okay, because He's everything. Okay, let me tell you how I got here. So at the time of this video, I am 56 years old. And in my early 40s, I was a IT engineer making six figures. And I got to this six-figure mark that I've always been trained all my life through college and all this other stuff, that once I reach six figures, this number will mean I made it or something, right? So I got there. When I reached that point, uh, I didn't feel this feeling that I thought it was going to feel like when I finally made it to six figures. It just wasn't there. And I remember I just didn't know what the answer was. I just didn't know. I was like, what is missing? So what I did at that point is I asked God. I said, God, can you help me? What am I missing? What am I missing? So the first thing he did was have me get out of debt. I got out of debt for the first time in my life, and I it opened my eyes up to a perspective that I had never seen before in my life, and that was because I was always in debt. I thought it was regular, but anyway, I got out of debt. I was free. God had me free myself physically first. I freed myself physically, and then at this point in my life, I was feeling so good, like I've never felt before in my life. I wanted to share this with somebody, with a woman, right? But throughout my life, I was always meeting women that always wanted to try to destroy me, not just simple breakups, just literally destroy me for some odd reason. I just never understood. But anyway, I asked God, I was like, can you find me somebody like this that looks like that? And, and find me somebody good, whatever. But I did ask him, I said, why do I keep running into these people? That's a very important piece. I didn't want to skip that. Why do I keep meeting women that want to literally destroy me when we break up, like legal trouble and all this other stuff, which is not even warranted, right? And I asked God to help me. So the next thing you know, He met me up with a narcissist. Okay. I didn't know narcissistic people existed. Now, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm just talking about personal experience. She was a very, very bad person. Okay. So bad. Finally, when I was almost drained to nothing, I asked God, I said, God, I don't even know what I am. With this relationship that I am, can you get me out? And then He snatched me right out of that too. Boom, took me right out of it. So I escaped it. That was to show me the reason why that kept happening to me with those type of women, because I didn't know narcissistic people existed until I met her. That within itself is a gift, that I can see narcissistic people now. Okay, this is all part of my journey. That's a very important piece of the puzzle to understand that narcissistic people existed. Not only, and I hope the men, especially the young men, I hope you're paying attention to what I'm about to tell you right here. Okay, this is all part of my awakening. That relationship drained every single bit of energy out of me, that I didn't have no energy left but for myself. After I escaped that relationship, God got me out of that relationship. I had no energy for myself. So what that meant was no more sex of any kind for me. I had no energy for that, not even to take care of myself. Nothing. I want men to understand what I'm saying. Nothing. This was forced. Me to stop totally having all type of any kind of intimacy with a woman was forced upon me due to that relationship with the narcissist, or else I would have never did it and never even known to have done it. What did that do for me? That got me unaddicted from lust, from sex, unaddicted. Now, I'm just saying this to you, okay? I'm just sharing this with you. If I heard myself while I was addicted saying, coming across a person like me today saying what I'm saying, I wouldn't even believe it. I would not even believe it. But this is all I had to do. This is all I had to do to say to myself. But I would have never known to ask myself this question. Would I die if I stopped having sex? The answer would be no. That means automatic. That means addiction. Automatic. I wouldn't even known to ask myself that question. That was major. That was major for me. Major. After that happened, I came across, God pointed me to the Albert Einstein's equation, E equals MC squared, right? I didn't know why at first until he kept pushing me to it. And then I resolved it into a statement. Soul and mind together become one with light forever. That's what that means. Once my soul became aligned with my mind, we're one with light. That's it. That's how it happens. Now, you've heard millions upon millions of people claim to be awakened and not even saying that they're not. But those never be they're not able to like physically prove it to you. You've come across an awakened person that can. I can prove it to you. There's only one way to prove it to you too. And if you don't believe it, it'll be a problem of your own. That's how I can do it. What does that mean? So when I now understand that what makes reality an illusion. You know what makes reality an illusion? Every single person's perspective of reality is different. That's what makes it an illusion. So when it comes to capitalism, there are millions of perspectives of capitalism because each person has their own perspective of capitalism. Before getting out of debt, I was in what I was called the debt matrix perspective. That's just one single perspective. Okay. I was born there, like millions of people live in that perspective. Millions. Not only do they not only do they not know they live there, they don't even know they don't know it. Not only do they not know it's a perspective, they don't even know that they live there. That was me until I escaped. The only reason why I know to tell you that there are millions of perspectives is because I escaped that perspective. You understand? Now I live in my own perspective, or not my own, but a perspective that not many people share or even know it exists because living in the debt matrix perspective, I believe that was the only perspective. I'm gonna give you guys an example of what it's like to be in a perspective. An awakened person can only know what I'm telling you because first you have to First, you have to understand that you were born in one single perspective. There was no way I was going to ever not understand that until I asked God to help me understand what I did not understand. Even to talk to you guys in this manner, I had to wait 1 second here. I got to take a drink. I had to understand how to speak. And you know what God told me? Just said, speak how it is. So I'm one of those awakened persons that can mathematically show you what I'm talking about. Not just one that just I'm just like, oh, this guy is saying this, but can never prove it. And can no, I can show you that there's only one way to show people. Here, let me explain this to you. There are millions of perspectives, but there's only one way to show the people in the debt matrix perspective that there are others. The only way I can show them is with mathematics. That's the only way I can show them. If I showed them on a calculator, I put some numbers in the calculator, and then I show these numbers to them on the calculator, and they say they don't believe it, there's nothing you can do for a person inside the debt matrix that doesn't believe what it says on the calculator. Do you understand? That's like somebody saying, "Hey, I believe 1 + 1 = 3. Try to prove me wrong." Would you say that? Would you try to prove that person wrong? Would you literally waste any energy to say, "All right, man, I'm about to prove you wrong that 1 + 1 does not equal 3," or would you just leave? Now, earlier I also told you that part of my journey to get here was to understand narcissistic people exist. Now, I want you guys to understand something. I'm only talking about narcissism, narcissistic being with somebody being in a narcissistic relationship from my own experience, okay? But there's a lot of you that are in these types of relationships and you probably don't understand why you stay with that person because they treat you horribly. 9 times out of 10, that's a narcissist. The wonderful thing about, and I thank God for the narcissistic relationship I was in, because if I wasn't in it, I would have never known about them, and I probably wouldn't have never even believed it, that people like that exist. Excuse me. And somebody claims that they love you, that they will physically harm you and hurt you. You just don't believe it. But now I know they exist. So now the wonderful thing knowing about a narcissist is that they're they don't know that they're narcissists. Narcissists do not know, in my opinion, narcissists do not know that they're narcissists. You know why? Because in order for one to know they're a narcissist, that would take self reflection, self accountability, which narcissists do not possess. Never, ever. They don't say sorry, they don't take accountability for nothing. But what you got to understand, once you can see them, you can clearly see what they do. Since they don't know that they're narcissists, the things that they do, this is the gift that I have. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. The things that they do, they believe it's normal that they do. So when I see them do the things that they do, I quickly identify them as narcissists now. It's not really difficult. And another thing, they always lie. They always lie. They've lied. Listen closely. They've lied all of their lives. They believe lying is normal. What is their downfall? They don't know. Since they don't know that they're narcissists, they also don't know that lies never make sense. When they tell you sorry and you don't feel it, it's because they're lying. They never make sense. That's their weakness. When you come across a person, listen, and I hope you're not, narcissists are harmless if you're not like legally tied to them. You're not in a relationship with all your emotions and you don't have children with them. One second. They're harmless, okay? As long as they're not tied, as long as they don't got their hooks in you with something, right? They're pretty harmless, right? But if you're tied to them, that's going to be a problem because they're going to use everything you love against you. They do. That's what narcissists do. So this is why they're quickly identified. They're everywhere. Narcissists are everywhere. I wouldn't have never known if God didn't put me into that relationship as part of my journey. I had to be prepared for these gifts that he has given me. And you probably think, well, excuse me. You're probably thinking, well, what gift? LJ, you haven't said anything about a gift. I understand. Let's just stick it with capitalism. I understand that there are millions of perspectives of capitalism. How many people you think know that? Not many. Everything, it's like this. Once I awakened, I can now look back in my entire life. I remember I used to hear these stories too. They say everything becomes obvious and everything becomes clear as to why or what happened in my life and why it happened that way with that person and it did everything makes sense. And this is how I wish somebody would have explained it to me when they say you can look back on your life. When I look back on my life, say like I go back to my 20s, okay? And I want you to pay attention to this part because this is what happened to me. Okay. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was doing things with friends that I shouldn't have been doing that could have probably got me put in prison. Okay. Even back then, there was always a little voice telling me, hey, you shouldn't do that. You know you can get in trouble for that. It was always this little voice telling me not to do these things, right? That voice is the person I am today, the higher self of myself. Because what was being whispered to me back in my 20s is exactly what I would say to myself if I could walk back to my 20s right now. What was being whispered to me back then when I was 20, but it was in such a low voice. But I know it was asking me to not do something I was about to do. But I didn't really focus in on it. Whatever was being said to me back then is what I would tell myself as the person I am today. Hey, if you do that, this could happen. This could stop your future. This could change your life if you get somebody that needed to tell me, hey, you know what? If you do that and you get caught and you get a felony, guess what? Your whole perspective of your life just changed because now you're limited because you have a record. Now you're limited. Before, if somebody was just like, hey, before right now you have no record, no record. You can free to do whatever you want to do. You can do it. But once you get a record, now you could still do it. Now it's going to be much harder because now you're limited. Now you got limited resources. And this is another thing I would think, and this is random because this is the first time I'm really talking about it the way I'm talking about it. So it's kind of coming to me randomly. But when I go back into my life right now and I think about certain moments when I would come across a person, it could be family or friends, right? And out of nowhere, this family or friend would say something or do something to me that wasn't good and it didn't make any sense. And I never understood why. Right. And then I would just kind of like overlook it, not make them explain themselves of why they say that to me or why they do that to me. And then I would go away from that situation, not really understanding why that happened. Now, when I look back at my times in my life, those are warning signs. When something happens and it doesn't make sense, there's a reason why it doesn't make sense. I wouldn't have overlooked it. I would have been able to, well, it's clear to see now which friends I would eliminate now because I know, okay? When I look back on my life now as an awakened person, I can quickly see that this is the catch you this is the catch 22, right? When I look back on my life, I can clearly see who I shouldn't have been, being around, what I should and should not do. That would have taken away everything on my journey to become who I am today. I'm just sharing this with you, especially if you're young. Here's another thing. Here's another gift from God. This is a gift. Okay. Now, listen to this closely. When I was younger, I used to always feel, not always, but very randomly, I would feel a friend or a family. I would feel jealousy or envy from a friend or a family member. It didn't matter who it is, just from a person close to me, right? And I used to always say to myself, damn, why do I feel like that? I shouldn't be feeling like that about my friend or family member, right? But this is what it is, okay? I've never been jealous of anybody in my life or envious of anybody, no matter what they look like, what kind of car they drive, what kind of job they have. Never. That's never been me at all. So I don't radiate jealousy. I want you guys to listen to me closely as a awakened person. Okay, it's beautiful. Jealous and envious people, which are usually narcissists, they have been that way all of their life. So they emit that energy constantly. Everything's positive and negative. Okay, remember that. Everything. They emit that energy all the time because they think it's normal. Listen closely. They believe it's normal that is that you're jealous and envious of people that you just come across all the time. So they're admitting it. So since I don't admit it, that means I was receiving it. I was picking up these people because now when I look back again, when I look back on my life, I was right. I may have found out years later, but I knew I was right. That's why I was feeling that way. I didn't know not to think, like, when I felt that jealous energy come from somebody, I knew, well, I didn't know, but I'm saying it because I know now. There is nobody in my life that could have ever felt jealous or envy energy come from me. You know why? Because I've never been that towards anybody, so it couldn't have come from me. It could not have come from me. That automatically made me a receiver. So if you're a person like me and you're listening to me, I hope you're listening closely, okay? If you are a person that also has never been jealous or envious of anybody, and you've been around people that you've done absolutely nothing to do anything to deserve them being jealous of you or anything, and you feel it, keep an eye on that person. That's part of the gift, to be able to pick up that energy. That energy is for a reason. Don't try to listen. Don't try to figure out why would they be. I'm not doing anything. That doesn't matter to a narcissistic, jealous, envious person. They don't care. Their mission was here to destroy me. God answered my question. I'm like, why do these women literally want to destroy me? All the way down to my own family members. I'm like, I didn't even do anything. Oh, now I know. So I wouldn't be on the mic talking to you guys about this today, to stop me from awakening. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be on the mic right now talking to you. I just want you guys to be crystal clear aware of that. So if you're like me, probably stuck in the narcissistic fog, this person's just literally just destroying you physically, mentally, cheating on you, and you're still staying, crossing your fingers, hoping that it change. Those are narcissistic people. When you catch yourself accepting all of that, that means you're in what I call the narcissistic fog. You don't know, you probably don't know about narcissists yet. You think it's just this person. Well, when you're in it, you got emotions tied to that narcissist, unfortunately. So it's going to be really hard for you to hear it, but you don't realize that's just one of them. You just emotionally tied yourself to one of them, or you may have had kids with one of them. What you need to do, and I'm just telling you now, especially as a awakened person, remember, take the time, go on YouTube, learn the traits of a narcissist, get all the professional information that you need from the professionals. Then I want you to come back here and I want you to listen to me. They don't know that you got to understand. They don't know that the narcissist, and that's their weakness. They think the things they do when they lie, they think lies make sense. You just have to accept it. You can't put one thing I learned about being in a relationship, thank you God for everything. One thing I learned about being in a relationship with a narcissist, you know how they always say, "Hey, the mask slips on the narcissist." Once you see that mask slip, you know who, but they never tell you this. Who put the mask on the narcissist? I did. They always talk about the slipping of the mask of the narcissist, but they don't tell you where the mask come from. It came from me. I put the mask on her. Even though she was treating me like the way she was treating me, I still was looking at her like, "Hey, I love you. We can make it work," or whatever it is. But I was in the narcissistic fog, 100% aware that narcissistic people existed. If God didn't put me in that relationship, I would have never known they existed. Today, they are easy for me to spot. When I spot one, I look them at the eye because they don't like eye contact. I don't have to say anything. I just look at them a certain way. And so I just look at them in a way that they know that whatever they say is not tricking me, or I'm not falling for it, or I'm not thinking that they're not the person they are. Because remember, narcissists don't know they don't know that they're narcissists, so they do the things narcissists do. And in there, and that is, listen, and that is one perspective of reality. Let's put it like that. There are millions of perspectives. Pay close attention. There are millions of perspectives of reality. Narcissists are in one of them. They think that's the only one. You guys understand what I'm saying? They believe their perspective of reality is the only one, and that is their weakness. They don't know that it's not. They believe everybody lies. Everybody's jealous of other people, and steal money from your friends and families. They think that's all. They think that. I want you guys to really lock that in your brain and understand that once you identify them and accept that they are that, regardless if they're your friends or your family, it doesn't matter. A narcissist can be anybody, just like the movie The Matrix in 1999, where Agent Smith can go in and anybody he wants to be close to try to get to Neo the fastest. That's what narcissists are. They can be anybody. Now, when you see narcissists do the horrible things they do in relationships, the only reason why they're able to do that to you because they got your emotional hooks in you. And when you share your body, this is what really happens when you share your body with a narcissist. They suck your energy out of you. Now pay close attention. When you're done doing whatever you're doing and you get to the climax, and then you're laying there, you're breathing really hard like you ran a marathon, they just suck the energy out of you. They're not having sex with you for the same reason you're having sex with them. I remember when I used to always get done being with the ex-narc. When I was done, I used to always something I used to always come to me, which is me, my higher self, that used to say, "You shouldn't have done that." Something kept telling me, "You need to stop having sex with her. You need to stop." Because that's what they use. And I remember when I started listening to the voice, which is me, who I am today, I was telling myself that because that's exactly what I would tell myself today if I could go back to myself when I was with the narcissist. Whenever I can go back in there, I would tell myself exactly, hey, you need to stop having sex with her because she's sucking your energy out. And that's what she was doing. I had to be built for this. You know how hard that was? I had to start telling her no, and she started getting worse, and she started saying things. I'm just gonna go mess around on you. I just lock it in my mind. Well, you're already doing it. I'm not gonna fall for that. I'm not gonna get hurt. Da, da. But I didn't know how I was gonna get out until I asked God. God got me out of that. And I was so deep in when God got me out, he couldn't tell me when he was getting me out. He could not tell me until he got me out. I thank God every day that he taught me about narcissist people existed. They could be anybody. It's all everything is reality is whatever perspective you believe it is. In my perspective, narcissistic people are not allowed. There's no disrespecting of people. There's no negativity, no problems, no nothing but peace. People in my perspective know time is limited here, limited. For those of you that come across people that seem like they're, oh, he sure is being a-hole about his time being in a fight. Those are probably one of those people that understand time here is limited. This perspective exists. You can have relationships that you don't have to worry about them cheating on you and all. This is that perspective. You probably think, well, how can you say that, LJ? Because that's what I say about myself. I'm not accepting anybody less than that. That's the beautiful thing about being awakened. The people in that perspective believe there's only one perspective, so they don't know others exist. This is a language. People that have been wrapped up in that world, that perspective of lying, cheating, and on behind the relationships and doing whatever. That is, listen, I want everybody to close. When you look at the word relationship, understand that there are millions of perspectives of the word relationship. So when you see a lot of cheating and lying and that is a perspective of relationship. That's just one single perspective. If you want a relationship that's honest, you don't have to worry about anything. You guys know what it is to be in this relationship. You're happy to understand that you have two people together that fully understand what this means. You live in that perspective. That's it. Even here's another way to look at perspectives, okay? Everything, reality, A million people have a perspective of reality. So when a person, no matter who you come across, looks at you, well, looks, let me use myself. When they come across and looks at me, here's my voice. You guys have a perspective of me without even knowing you do. You probably just listening and stuff's running through your brain. But I know now, the only perspective of me that matters is mine. My perspective of me is the only one that matters. So if I choose this perspective of what type of relationship I'm going to have, that's what I'm going to have, or I'm not going to have nothing because I'm cool by myself. I had to get adjusted to peace. Ain't that crazy? If God didn't help me get out of the one perspective of the debt matrix, I would have never, ever in a million years realized there are millions of perspectives on capitalism because each person has their own. I thank God every day. I used to, when I was in that relationship with that narcissist, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this. I asked God, next thing you know, I'm out. I asked God, what's wrong? And I can't figure out, I'm at six figures, and how come I'm not doing something, making more or whatever? God showed me the way. Oh, there's other perspectives of capitalism. Oh shit, I didn't know that. God's like, how you gonna know that if you're part of it? God was like, basically, I'm just saying this out loud because I know exactly now. I can go back and look. God was like, how you gonna know if you yourself is part of the system? Those were my papers, my credit report. Those are my papers. My credit report proved that I didn't own myself. Ain't that crazy? It's so obvious today. Once I paid off all the people that owned me on my credit report, guess what? There's nobody there. So I own myself now. What I just told you, it's not in books. Do you understand? God told me that. What I'm telling you is not in books. That's on purpose, obviously. It still blows me away today when I think about it. I would have never known in a million years until I asked God. God said, "Okay, thank you for asking." It's almost like God just said was like, "Thank you for asking." God is everything. You guys understand when I say that? God is everything. So when you hear like, "Oh man, the devil's ruling the earth and this and that," you got to ask yourself, if he's ruling the earth, why didn't he just kick God out of heaven? When God said, "Hey, you got to get out of heaven," why didn't the devil turn to God and say, "No, you get out of heaven"? If he's in control of everything, you know why he didn't? Because that obviously wasn't an option. That's almost like, say, like you're a father of a teenage kid, and your kid comes up to you, and the kid's like 14, 15, and your kid comes up to you and says, "Hey, dad, mom, I'm tired of all these rules and shit, cleaning up my room. I got to clean up the kitchen on Tuesdays. I'm tired of this shit. You got to get the fuck out." Would you get out? Would you get out the house, or would you listen? Or I mean, what's going through? It's the same thing. God is everything. I fully understand that now. Fully. Now, you're probably thinking, well, hey, you cussed and you did this. Listen, okay? Remember, everything you've probably learned is a perspective. It's a perspective of a religion or the way other people think and this and that. First, I now understand how difficult it is within the perspective I live today. There are very, very, very few people that live here. Very few. That's why it's my mission to take this channel around the world. And God told me the only way I'm be able to do that is just be what He has gifted me. Just be it. Just be what it is. So whenever you hear an awakened person, they can't really prove it to you. I'm one of those awakened people that can. I can prove it to you. And there's only one way to prove it to you, and that's mathematics. So if I show you something mathematically and you choose not to believe it, that's a choice you're making right there. If I show you something on the calculator and you say, well, I don't believe that number that's on the calculator, automatically, because nobody can have an opinion on math. Nobody can have it. Listen, nobody can have a different perspective. You can have a perspective on damn near everything in the world. Listen closely, everything in the world, but you can't have a perspective on math. 1 + 1 = 2, period. There is no other perspective. There's no other way to look at it. There's no other way to, you can't really, it doesn't matter if you say it in another language, it doesn't matter. It's 2. So if you look at a calculator, I'll show you something on a calculator, and you say, I don't agree with that, we just part ways because I understand how energy works. And when I first got out of debt, let me tell you, because I heard about energy when I was asleep. I hear about all these things, but I don't even know how to, when somebody says, hey, reality is an illusion, I didn't know how to look at that. Now I do. I forgot where I was going with that. Dang it. I was going somewhere with that. Let me read some of these chats once since I forgot. What's up, October? QQ, what's going on? I feel like I've never really been jealous, more like inspired. Me too. The closest to jealousy I've gotten is if a girl I was interested in growing up as a teen liked a different guy. Yeah, and that's different. That's kind of different. That's not, I'm just saying I want you to concentrate on more of, and I can just tell by the way you're talking that you're like me. I've never been jealous of anybody. Why? I'm like, why? I can do what they do. I can't do everything another person does, but it's not like I couldn't do nothing. So I just didn't. I've never looked at it that way. But I'm looking at feel. If you truly have never been a person that has never been jealous or envious of anybody, pay attention to when you feel jealousy or envy from another person. Do me a favor. This is important because now I understand that. Damn, I gotta get some more water. 1 second. Do me a favor. Make sure you look up the definition of envy and look up the definition of love, or not love, envy and jealousy. Ask AI. Make sure you have a clear definition of both. Perspective is always important, okay? Especially if you've been a person that's never been jealous or envious of anybody. That means you are a good receiver of jealous envy energy. Earlier, I remember I was going somewhere with energy. That's where I was going. I realized that how much energy was being used when I was in debt, worrying about bills month to month and all that stuff. Uh, Especially the energy used in bad relationships with narcissistic women. Because usually, and it really goes hand in hand with empaths and narcissists, because narcissists, they use sex because that's the strongest, to me, that's the strongest drug on earth in men. And this is the crazy thing I don't know if I said this earlier. about this powerful drug called sex now that I'm not addicted to it. I realized something. I realized something, and I'm not sure if I was going into this earlier. I'm gonna say it again, regardless, right? To the young men, how's a way to say it? How's a way to say it? What's a good way to say it? The energy that is used, that was used in bad relationships. Now that I'm out of the relationship and I have peace in my life, I can truly see how much energy it was being used to sustain such a relationship. The arguing, the not talking for days, one staying upstairs, one sleeping down on the couch, uh, bringing up arguments for just no reason, just to, now that I can see, I remember she would always start fights on weekends. It's just the energy. I want you guys to understand how much energy that is. You can't really tell how much it is when you're in it, okay? But I'm here to tell you it's a lot. That energy could be used like we come with a certain amount of energy, and I picture it as like a meter. If you're in a horrible relationship with a narcissist, the energy meter is more, your energy meter is probably more in the red than the green. It's probably mostly red, like a bar, just because that's what I remember it being like. I mean, I remember it was so bad. I would just go to sleep so I could just have peace to get out of it for a little while, right? Sleep would actually knock me out and temporarily get me out of the situation of, just the stale air, the stale. You can feel all that stuff, especially when in a relationship. It's not. You don't have to. You don't have to accept it. You just don't. Don't forget that clock is ticking. That clock is ticking. Then again, I wouldn't wish ill will on a guy. Never, never that ever. See, and there are normal breakups. These breakups break up, and I know people that have bad breakups all their life. I would have never believed it. But there are people that break up normally. They just go their separate ways. Hey, it didn't work out. Sorry, here's your stuff, here's mine. And then everybody goes their way. No, nothing to do with court or line. See, they don't have to pull up a video to record it and put it on put it on live, because there's nothing to. Nobody would watch it. What's going on here? Oh, a peaceful breakup between two people, two adults. That is the perspective of life, people. That is. Two good people got together. They felt good at the time, and then they come to the conclusion it's not working out. They don't cheat on each other. They just say, hey, we come to this conclusion that it didn't work out. Okay, see you later. Take care. I wish the best for you. Same to you. That's a real perspective, people. That's real. You just don't see them because they're boring. They wouldn't get views. Mine had a mask on when I met him. The love bomb was a mask. You know, it's what is that first phase? That first phase is the love bomb phase, where they do pretend. They pretend. Okay, this is a better way to say that, QQ. They pretend to be the person you want them to be, which is the mask. This is how the mask on the narcissist I was with was built. Okay. When I met her, narcissist, the first phase they do is pretend to be like you, pretend to like what you like. If you like to go to the gym, if you like to eat, if you like to work out, if you like to do whatever, they like it too. Calling you all the time, just making you feel like you are just the best thing since sliced bread. That created the mask for me. Once her hooks were in me, that's when the thing started to change. Little slip ups, little doing things here and there, and I just accept one, then I accept two, then I accept three, all the while because that mask that I created, that she helped me create, was still on her face the whole time. And I was thinking about this today. Even if I was to look at her pictures today, I won't have any feelings, but I will still see the mask on her face. You know why? Because that's the only way I knew her. Even though I can look at her and say, okay, she's a bad person, I wouldn't never mess with her again, but I still see the mask that I put on her face. Gotta thank, yeah, I thank God every day I wake up, every day. Yes, He will. LJ, what would you do if you believe a parent of yours is a narcissist and is harming the other parent? Well, you got to tell me the definition of harming. What are you talking about? Something illegal type of harming? A parent of yours is a narcissist and is harming the other parent. Well, you're asking me of who I am today. Okay. So if that was true, if that was my case today, if one of my parents was doing that to the other, I would tell the other parent. I would say, hey, my mom she's trying to do this to you. I would just tell. Because when you see, and I hope, if kids are you listening, young, if you see a parent doing horrible things to your other parent, your turn is coming. Do you understand? Narcissists, and I want this to be clear. Narcissists don't care about anybody, not even they don't care about themselves. They don't care about nothing. You think, oh, my mom wouldn't do that to me. I call her my ex sister now, sister of I helped raise when my mom worked at night. I had to, make up some toys, so she wouldn't cry every night. Just me and my sister grew up close. Never had a fight in our lives ever, all the way till 2024. I'm 54 at that time. One thing I never did was tie. Now, all my life, I knew she was a bad person because I saw what she did to other people behind the back to her boyfriends. But I was like, that's none of my business. This is how I'm thinking. It's none of my business because she ain't did it to me. Da da da. But she's showing me who she is. Until it came to a business, got a joint venture. I'm like, hey, okay, we got to do this together. She didn't want to participate, right? It still wanted half the money and all this. I was like, what? I said, well, no, that would be using me. I'm talking normal, just like you. No, that would be using me. If you still take half the money without working, I need your help. I can't do all this by my. Oh no, and that's okay. Well, we could just take a name off, and so you don't get taxed on that for money you're not really earning. So you might as well. Nope. I was like, no, I'm confused. No, I don't get it. What do you mean? No, I'm your brother. Hello, what are you talking about? Oh, never. I don't want. I'm not doing that. You got to get out. This and that because I was living with her at the time. You got to get out. And this and that. I was like, what? Why are you talking? Like I was confused. Next thing you know, knock at the door. Hey, you got to get out. This is the police. You got to get out. Your sister says she's terrified of her life, and you got to get your stuff in 30 minutes. I was like, what? You know what the lesson is for that? Now that I can look back on my entire life. Now, this is God. This is why God's so amazing. Now, I was so close to my sister. If somebody would have walked up to me and said, "Hey, man, do you think your sister would ever go down to a judge and lie to a judge and tell the judge that she's terrified of her life and she needs you out of the house? I would have said, hell no, she would never do that. You know what God said? I knew that too. So when they hand me these papers, they had this thick stack of paperwork where she wrote up and some people to get in there and all this other crazy stuff. God said, I knew you were going to say that. So I let your sister tell you herself. So I read through the papers, through all the lies, just made up stuff just to get me out to do something, whatever, right? I had to read it. And God said, now I want you to read it and I want you to believe it. Because he knew that was the only way I was going to believe that my sister would do the thing she did to me, to somebody that we've never had a fight in our lives ever. We've been the closest, that the rest of the family was jealous of us. So God said, read those papers. Now do you get it? I said, understood, God. Thank you. Removed. You know how empowering it is to be able to identify a narcissist, because there's millions of them, people, millions. But you gotta have to, yeah, I had to be built for this to understand that. If they're a narcissist, I don't care who it is, I detach myself from them. Family members, children, other relatives, they are removed. You, I had to be prepared for this. I had to remove my sister and my mother. You understand? I had to be built for this. God had to put me through the things he put me through to become awakened. There's no way I would have been able to solve that E equals MC squared equation. God told me that. Again, the only difference between my awakening and millions of other people, I can show you mine. I could show you things that you don't even know exist. You don't even know other perspective exists. I can show you other perspectives. Today, I understand that everybody's perspective of everything is different. Everybody, there could be 20 people that look at one car, and every person will have a different perspective of that one car we're all looking at. This is how life is. So now when I go walking around and do my life things, I understand that everybody that looks at me and I look at them, I have a perspective of them just like they have a perspective of me when they look at me. And for the young men, let me tell you something, man. Let me explain this. This is very important. To be unaddicted from sex is it's clear to me, being unaddicted is clear to me that women do not look at sex the same as men. When you see people on the streets walking, hookers on the streets walk, just walking up and down the street, you see women, they are there for men. If it was, if women thought about sex the same way men do, you would see an equal amount of men walking the streets and women picking them up. Do you understand the difference? When you think about all these massage parlors everywhere, all curtains all over the place, Everybody knows what that's for. Who do you see walking in there? Men. Now, when I woke up, this is the crazy part. When I woke up and I realized that when I became unaddicted, I almost asked myself a rhetorical question. I was like, has it always been that addictive to men? I look at I look at women in a totally different uh from a totally different perspective now. It's clearly different than men, clearly. Everywhere you go, just think about it worldwide. Everywhere you not everywhere you go, but the majority of places around the world always have a some kind of sex district or something. Why do you think that is? Men, the majority men. Clearly women are running shit. It's clear. Now let me tell you something, man. I want you guys to listen to something. Again, I would have never known this unless it was forced upon me to be able to see what I'm telling you right now. The power that I'm just trying to put it in words, the power that women have because of men's addictions is because as a woman, and this is a guess, as a woman, they know they can because a guy will they can find a guy. Do they know that? I'm thinking, does a not saying that they don't. I guess I'm more saying it out loud, and I'm just thinking about it as I'm talking about it. Do women know that? Hmm. Hmm. Because when I look at it from this perspective now, it's around the world, massage parlors everywhere, street walkers. I mean, certain streets in California, they just, hey, as long as you keep it there, it'll stay there. You know why they keep it's illegal. Listen, this is I want you guys to understand the power that women have. Okay. That men don't even know. I would have never known this. But that Figueroa Street in California, they're like, though it's illegal, if you keep it there, you won't be bothered. You know why they do that? Because they have to do that because of the addiction. Because if they say, we're going to enforce the laws, we're going to close down that whole street, it's just going to move to somewhere else. It's not going to stop because it's a strong addiction. It's literally just like going to purchase illegal drugs. Same thing. Going to cash for this, you got to be, man. And us as men in society, in the perspective I came from, we are made to believe that we are the ones, I guess, in charge, doing things, but it's obvious that we're not. Even though, like when we say, you get into the family court system and you say, man, the rights are all for the women, and you're saying it out loud. You can't just come and say, yeah, why you keep saying it? Yes, it's true. Yes, I'm tired of this and this and that. It's not well, it's not going to change. If it hasn't changed, it's not going to change. I'm more of looking like when I look at when I think about the perspective of a woman. This is what I think about. they've probably been being looked at by men since being really young. Let's just put it that way, right? All their life, starting at a young age, all of their life looked at by men. Because we walk around as a man, every man has their own perspective of a woman, right? And they think if they look at a particular woman and this woman is not their type, that woman is still somebody's type in another man's perspective. See, so it really, so it's been, you know, they've been looked at starting at a young age. So me coming along and looking at a woman a certain way, it's as an unconscious man, looking at her a certain way, this look is only new to me. The look I'm giving her is only new to me because she's probably seen it a million times and probably just deciding if she's gonna entertain me or whatever. But to know what I know today, I know I don't give off this particular energy of hunger when I'm out there. I don't give them this hungry look because I'm not. What's up, Dominique? But I'm not. I'm not. You know, it's like this. Think of it for the guys. Think of like when you're out and about and you see a woman that you like and you show this interest and you might give her the eye or the look or whatever, right? Just understand that look probably happened. It probably happens 100 times a day. Now when I'm out and about, I don't ever think I'm special. Even if a woman's looking at me, I don't think I'm special. Maybe she's just interested in look at, hey, he's cute. Or, who knows? I don't know. Because how I live now, everything is a perspective. I don't know what the perspective of her looking at me. I don't know her perspective of sex. I don't know her perspective of anything. So I don't even, as a man, I don't even think at that level anymore when I see a woman that I might be attracted. I just don't think like that anymore. I'm like, what's the point? Because first, in my mind, first I have to find out if she's a narcissist. If there was any kind of interest, the first thing I need to know is this person a narcissist? Then is this person in debt? Well, maybe the first because most narcissists are in debt. I don't know. But being awake is like I knew, like, think about the things. Okay, think about like when you walk into a room or you feel something come from somebody and you just don't know why, but we just blow it off, not realizing that I felt like that for some reason, or else I wouldn't. This is how I look at it. I feel like that for a reason. That's why I felt it. Because I can guarantee you this: nobody in my life or my friends have ever said, "Hey, I felt like LJ was jealous of me." Never, because I've never been jealous of anybody. So whatever energy I think back in my own life, when I think about certain times and everything, always pay attention. This is what I do. I always pay attention to the energy I feel from people. Right from the first time, I pay attention to the little things they may say. All of these things are very important now to me. I pay attention. Oh, okay. Because this is the beautiful thing about living in the perspective I live in. Okay. I live in a perspective of total peace. Okay, I don't have anybody in my life that's negative. I don't have anything negative going on in my life. I don't have any of that. It's total peace. So now that I know what total peace feels like, it's easy for me to see and hear the people that do not have total peace. And they don't know that they're doing the things they do because they don't know what total peace feels like. A person that has never been in total peace cannot know what total peace feels like. So they're going to do the things that tell me or show me that they're not. And this is what I do. I don't totally eliminate the people. It counts on where they're at. It always counts on where a person's at to me. Maybe they're a good person, but they're just in this particular perspective of life, and they're having this and that with that boyfriend and girlfriend. Okay, well, they're in that perspective. They got to figure that out. That's where I keep them in my life. There's certain perspectives levels to me. Now, if there's somebody in your life that you love and care about, and especially if it's a family member, but you see they're dogging out their husband, wife, they might be married, or they might be dogging out another sibling or something, and you know they're not deserving of this, whatever they're doing, you got a decision to make because your turn is going to be next because they don't care about nobody, not even their own children. The courts are tied up with that kind of stuff. Just they don't. A narcissist does not care. Say like you're just a parent and you had a kid with another person, and this person, the other parent, is just doing everything. Just like mine, the women I was with, they just did everything to do just not make it go smooth, just everything, and I would do nothing. Narcissists get even more mad when you're not returning the anger, right? And they would just they don't know how that affects the children. They don't, you know why they don't know? Because they don't care. Now that I can see, man, the importance of having a mother and father that work together and understand how capitalism works, how things work, how good relationships work, and then raise a kid in that same environment. People don't understand how important that is because that creates legacy. Like what most people don't understand is like this, and I want you to really think about this. If you are in a family of people that are broke, they don't really care, credit messed up, they don't really care. Remember, as you get older, some people are going to leave, some people are going to die. You're going to be by yourself. Those people, those family members, they're not going to be able to help you either because they're going to need help. When you're younger, you think, oh, I got all this family around me. Just take a look at around. You better take a look at all your family members. Pick out the good ones versus the bad ones, and then make your plan of life accordingly. You got parents that say like you're a young adult starting your career, you want a different life, but you got parents that don't give a shit and they're getting in debt and credit and still financing stuff. You know why they're doing that? Because they're about to rely on you. You are their backup plan. If you're that young adult that are gonna say, "Hey, I'm not gonna be like my parents. I'm gonna have good credit. I'm gonna have a good job. I'm gonna do well." And they continue their bad habits. Their retirement plan is you because they're gonna see how good you're doing, and then they're in their minds they're gonna be like, "Oh, they have he or she has enough money to take care of us." Hey, mom, dad, maybe you should eat better. Get better care of yourself. Oh, forget that. I've been eating like this for 50 years. I don't get. You know why they don't care? Because you're the backup plan. My plan is completely opposite. I have no plans in my head that my sons are going to take care of me when I get old. No, sir. No, sir. I can see that right now today. But it's really like when I think about who I am today, if I was awakened before I had my children, it would have been different. I would have thought about before I had children. It would have been a thought. I would have found myself first, created a business, then to find a woman that's the exact like mine, like my our minds are exactly the same. My perspective of her will be the same perspective of herself, and vice versa. Then you have children, and then you raise them and say, "Hey, this is how it's going to work. You're gonna be part of the business as we get older. We're going to train you as a kid, just like the Chinese people do in the Chinese restaurants." I hope you guys are paying attention. When you're walking in there, they're saving money on babysitting costs, and they're teaching their children business starting at a very young age. Up at the register, checking you out at age 10, telling you how much your Chinese food is. Now that my eyes are open, I see all that. Whenever I go to a Chinese restaurant, I see that. Just, I would always, even when I was asleep, when I would walk into Chinese restaurants and I would see they would have the family there or the kids in the corner booth or whatever right up front, I used to always feel like they know something I don't. And I was right. They do know. They know to create their own business, stay out of debt, keep costs low. Uh, they don't have to pay for babysitting or nothing because their kids are there, training them on business already from the very beginning and starting at a young age. So by the time they even high school, they already know pretty much everything the teacher's going to teach them. You guys had, I mean, to be able to see what they do, their money got to be, and listen, they also when they buy their probably all their product for their stores, it's probably all from Chinese produce, whatever, right? They keep it the dollar in the community for who knows how many cycles before they have to pay the taxes on that money. Who knows? It's beautiful to be able to see, to be awake. My journey is, I now understand that the journey of, I guess, perspective is the best way I could say it, is obviously unlimited because since there are millions of perspectives, or billions, because there are billions of people in the world, that means unlimited amount of perspectives that can be learned. So whenever I reach another perspective or another perspective is opened up to me, it's more like this is how it feels like when God shows me different perspectives. It's like he moves away the fog that whatever the thing is or the saying is or whatever, right? It was always there. It was always there, but then he moves the fog away, and then I'm like, oh gosh, that's obvious. Everything is always obvious, always. It has to be what, and I know there's probably a word for it. I just don't know the word. It has to be able to explain a psychological thing to be explained to a person that doesn't understand that there are no something from this is better yet, not psychological, something from another perspective to be explained to a person that only knew of one perspective. Like here, let me give you an example, okay? I'm going to give you an example of explaining something to you, but from another perspective. Okay. Millions of people believe they're homeowners with a mortgage. You can't buy a house with a mortgage. To buy a house only takes 1 day, not years. It takes a day. Now, what I've just shared with you are mathematical facts. Because if you opened up your calculator and put in your mortgage payment minus your mortgage balance and hit equal, the calculator will clearly show that you are a loan owner, not a homeowner, so you don't own anything. Now, this takes you back to where I told you earlier. Now, this is the thing about mathematics. No human on earth has ever broken the laws of mathematics, to my knowledge. No human on earth. Now, if you're a person that did what I said, put in your mortgage payment minus your mortgage balance and equal, you see a large negative number. If you believe you still own your home, even though you see a large negative number on the calculator, this is where we just part ways because you don't believe what the calculator says. To try to get a person to trust math is like the literal sense of insanity. Please believe 1 + 1 = 2. Please believe the numbers that the mortgage payment minus mortgage balance equals a large negative number. Because you already know on the number line with the 0 in the middle, green numbers on the one side mean positive, red numbers on the other side mean negative. The number that you see on the calculator, you know that number goes on the negative side of the number line because there's an equal number of that same number that you see on a calculator on the positive side. So if you had two houses next to each other, yours and another person, and these houses cost exactly the same, everything was the same, and you guys live next to each other, your number would be on the negative side of the number line. Your neighbor's number would be on the positive side of the number line. Both numbers exactly the same, but on opposite ends of the number line. You understand? Now, if this is your first time listening to something like this or hearing somebody talk, which is probably most likely true, it's a very difficult thing to accept. Like when you hear me say that, and you've probably been in your house for years, and you hear somebody say, you're not really a homeowner, you're a loan owner, it's really hard to accept. But all you got to do is just do what I told you, put your mortgage payment minus your mortgage balance and hit equal. And then as you're looking at that large negative number on the calculator, that's when the voices and the things are going to tell you, yes, you are. This is the way it's done. The only way to do it is have good credit and long job and all this other stuff. Those are things you do own. You have equity in the house. You just keep staring at the negative number on the calculator and say, those voices can't be true because the calculator is showing me a negative number. The negative number you see on the calculator is true. The voices must be a lie. There is no either or. 1 + 1 = 2, period. But if you only know of one perspective of capitalism, you've never heard anybody speak the way I speak. I get it. That's another beautiful thing about being in this perspective. It's a language. It's a language that very few people speak. And since the majority don't know this language exists, they don't know how they speak. When you're in a debt matrix and you think in a debt matrix perspective, when you live in the debt matrix perspective, which is only one, remember there are millions. We're going to stick to the United States. There are millions of perspectives on capitalism. The debt matrix is one of them. Just a single one out of millions. And you're in there thinking that car payments are normal and taxes are bad, and you think you own a house with a mortgage and all this other stuff, and you think you're investing into the stock market and saving for retirement and all this stuff. You don't know that you're not doing any of that. You can't do any of that. In this perspective where I live, taxes are a source of income. You understand? Taxes help build wealth, build wealth. Taxes are only bad inside the debt matrix perspective. This language is like, I don't know, I'm still getting used to this. Like this video right here, it's more of I'm just kind of like talking out loud because I'm still getting used to this. I've been on the SMD side for a long time. I'm very comfortable over there. This is new for me over here, just being what I am. Peace, uh, being able to clearly explain what God what God has given me, these gifts, which we all have. I'm not saying that I'm special or anything. We all have it. You just got to be on the same frequency, I guess. Not I guess, you have to be. There is no other way. Now when I look at like the dating world, is mm, if I understood what I know now when I was in my 20s, it just or there I go again. I can obviously see my life. I would everything just would have been different. I wouldn't be here, so I can't really change anything. But if it's some advice, to reach, if you could find yourself first in your 20s, like right now, 30s, you can not only, you don't think that your life is gonna, you think it's gonna change in a bad way, but it's not. Put it this way: I am so glad I didn't become a multi-millionaire, rich, whatever, while I was living in the debt matrix perspective, because I would have lost it all if I would have done that. Because in my 20s and my 30s, I didn't know there were a million perspectives on capitalism. I didn't know that. I thought this is how it's done. No, it was just one. So I would have lost everything through divorce, just bad financial decisions. Every time I get a raise, go get a bigger house. Just the stuff that I believed I was supposed to do. It's true, being part of the debt matrix, yes, but uh, it would have just been. Yeah, I got to stop thinking like that. I got to stop thinking like that. Because my whole life would have been different. It's beautiful to be able to let me put it this way. It's beautiful to be able to look back at my whole entire life. My life, not my whole entire life, my life up until right now, and to be able to see all of the decisions that I have made throughout my life. Knowing anytime I made a not so good decision, there was always a little voice telling me not to. Always. It was just and I understand why it was very low because I was around the people in that there was more people in my life in that perspective. Here's a better way to put it. You know how sometimes you feel like you're in your own bubble when you get around a different crowd, and you feel like you're just so different. Well, this is what that is. I figured out what that is. When that those kind of and that happened to me a lot. What was happening is I was in my own perspective, represents my own bubble. I was in my own perspective inside of their perspective. Now, while inside their perspective, people used to always tell me that I was different than the majority of other people in this perspective. I used to hear that a lot. What it was is like I said earlier, what it was I was in my own perspective within their perspective, but I didn't know I was in their perspective. So look at it this way, which is the perfect illustration. The yin yang symbols, okay? One side is the majority is black with the white dot in it, and the other side is majority white with the black dot in it. Being born inside of the detonatrix perspective, I was the little white dot surrounded by the black on the yin side of the yin yang side, but I didn't know I was surrounded by the majority of black. Today, but the yin knew it was surrounding me, obviously. Okay. Today, I'm the majority of white surrounding the yin, but now we know of each other because those two have to be here. This is my full understanding now. They have to be here for me to have the freedom of choice, which God gave us all. So God gave us all the freedom of choice. So if I'm out there living life and it's good, and all of a sudden something comes in bad, that's probably something, and it's usually small because it's small in my life now. So if it comes across, it's easy for me to recognize, okay, I'm not going to let that ruin my day, or I'm going to choose not to do that or something, just make a certain decision that would be negative. I just like put it, for example, this is what I do. If something overwhelms my mind, negative or something, right? I make sure I have enough energy in me to make sure I don't do anything physically with that thing in my brain. You know what I'm saying? Don't go make a move or do a business move or something based on this negative thought or whatever in my brain. I just don't do it. No matter what it is, I just say, okay, I'm not going to physically make a move. Yes, you're right about that for sure, Omonika. I watched a documentary, and burgers specifically target Asian household. I watched a documentary. Oh, burglars, excuse me, burgers. Burglars specifically target. You know what? And they might, to me, of how I can see, like just the economy period. Okay, let me just tell you the wonderful thing about the vision that God has given me. It's clear that the Asian community has a different perspective than the majority. Okay, the perspective is obviously different. Uh, think about it this way: they got uh, Chinatowns damn near almost in every state in the United States, and not just in regular places on high price pieces of property. And when I say a Chinatown, don't think just Chinese restaurant. They got Chinese businesses of everything, insurance, fruit and produce, stores, whatever, right? So when they each of them, and then they build a community of Asian stores. You understand? They build a community of it. So whenever they open a business and they need supplies or they need something for their store or whatever, they open up, They just get it from their Asian business within the community. They don't have to go anywhere. Or if they have to go anywhere, it's not very far, but it's in the Asian community. Now, as a black man, think about this is why I say there's distance between perspectives. Do you know how long it would take us as black people to do the exact same thing as the Chinese with Chinatowns in every single, damn near in every single state in the United States on prime pieces of property? That takes a basic understanding of the goal of what we're trying to do. This is the perspective of capitalism I see is broken up. First, there's inside of the debt matrix. Inside of the debt matrix, there are levels. It's broken down inside of the debt matrix. So I can see that white people, there's more white people that are not in debt. The Chinese are most definitely live by no debt. That's a fact. You can just see it. And then it goes down to, because you got to think about what, like when foreigners come here, the first thing they do is build their own community. They do exactly like the Chinese people do. They come from other countries. The first thing they do is build their own community of businesses. I'm 56. I wouldn't live long enough to see black people match that. There's no way, not in my lifetime, because that took centuries to do. And and black people, well, they kept us down in slavery. All you got to do is look up the Chinese Exclusion Act. Do you hear the words? The Chinese Exclusion Act. Can you get any more? Look at it. Can you get any more prejudice than that? I read into it a little bit. Then they were forced to create their community. I was like, how did like Chinatown start? And then I was kind of reading about it. They were forced to create their own community because they was being shut out of everything else. Just like what? Us. But look what they've done. And it's not just them. I go to a Ukrainian store not too far from my house. Grocery store, they all speak Ukrainian. I started learning goodbye and thank you just to shock the shit out of them as a black man speaking Ukrainian. I went in there the other day. The lady was checking me out, and she was like, "Anything else?" No. And then I said, after I was done, I said, "Thank you" in Ukrainian. The look on her face was pure shock. Cracked me up. Oh yeah, right there. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up, man. I'm just going on and on. This is more of how I be thinking sometimes when I'm chilling by myself in my own peace and thanking God about the gift of sight to be able to see, to be able to help other people, help the S&B family members, Sixth Sense members. If you're on your own journey, you can hear me. This is for people that can hear me. And you're looking for some answers. Everything I'm saying, I just want, if you're new, especially if you're new to the channel, remember everything I'm saying I can prove with mathematics. I just want you to know that. If I can prove it with math, that means it's true. You guys have a good evening, especially you guys over there on the East Coast. Thank you for staying up there on Manike, because I know it's like 9:30? Yeah, 9:30. You guys have a wonderful evening. Until next time. You guys catch you later. Leave a comment.